selections. I guess we need a motion to approve Peter Reese, Nathan Costco, and Don Hediger as members to the weed board. Now, what are their terms?
So, was it our recommendation to do 1, 2, and 3-year appointments, is that correct?
How would that work
Just hard
for
to-
the overall stagger?
For the stagger, yeah.
So, let me find my sheet here with their terms. I would suggest that you place Peter on the board for 1 year, simply being a new member.
Right.
I think that's an easy one. So if, let me just put these in here. That would work out nicely if you made one of their terms expiring 2020, so that would be a 2-year term, and one of their terms expiring 2021, which would be a 3-year term.
Okay.
So since they're both incumbents, they really, it's up to you, I suppose, how you want to stagger that. But I would suggest that one of them have a 2-year term and one of them have a 3-year term, and leave Peter at the 1 year.
I guess I would suggest that Nathan for a 3-year term and Don Hediger for a 2-year term.
Are you making those motions?
So, that's for discussion.
Okay. Looks good to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make the motion that we report, appoint Peter Reese for a 1-year term, Nathan Costco for a 3-year term, Don Hediger for a 2-year term to serve on the Collier County Weed Board.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Peter Reese to a 1-year term, Nathan Costco to a 3-year term, and Don Hediger for a 2-year term on the weed board. Any other discussion? Public comment? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Nicole, will you call Peter? Because I think they have a meeting coming up Wednesday,
Do they? Okay. Yep, I will certainly call him.
so that you can attend that first meeting.
Perfect.
All right?
I also have,
I have another question on that before we move on. Michael Santee, would you also let him know when the meetings are and invite him to come as an advisor?
yes, absolutely.
He would be
I will include that in
non-voting,
his
but
letter.
if he would like to add expertise, I think that'd be great.
I think non-voting members are always beneficial for any board. So this is per your request at the last meeting. If there are any boards that you would like to, I don't even know what you would call yourself, simply a commission
Liaison?
presence, liaison.
Liaison? Sure.
So I don't know if you want to complete this now or review it and discuss later.
I guess maybe, I would suggest that maybe we do this next week as continuing, and then that will give us time to find out how often these boards meet, any other questions that you might have about the particulars. We'll all serve on the compensation board, and that's in statute. And I don't know if a tax appeal board has a liaison, do they typically?
No, they typically
Okay.
do not. I simply placed all boards on there, I didn't
I think that was
want to leave
wise.
any off. I also have another suggestion. I have planning board on here and commissioner. Frequently, the planning board only meets to discuss subdivisions, and the commissioners actually cannot participate in subdivision discussion at a planning board meeting. So that might be one that you want to leave vacant, not because I don't want you attending the planning board meetings. It's simply illegal for you to hear any subdivision discussion prior to it coming to the commission meeting. But again, I wanted to put all boards on here to give you the opportunity to review them.
And then we're all three required on the Board of Health.
Board of Health is all three, okay?
Yep.
Thank you.
And mosquito board Three Forks, I would say that's Daryl.
Okay.
Woohoo!
Okay.
far as the recreation board, we do have a meeting this evening at 5:30 in this room. So whomever decides to fill in that blank, just so you're aware.
I have been on that one and will continue. And we'll be there tonight, not necessarily continue, but we'll be there tonight, just to let you know.
So when you complete this, would one of you let me know, just so I can make sure that my record is complete as well? Please. Thank you. All right. I will bring those letters to you, the weed board and compensation appointees. I'll bring those to you this afternoon, since this is continuing business. I'll bring it to you. I think I'm on it too.
That'll work for me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving to the federal land access. This is a federal land access program match agreement. Purpose of the agreement, the purpose of this agreement is to document the intent of Broadwater County to meet its match requirements for the subject project as authorized under 23 USC 201B7B, the Montana Broadwater County Goose Bay Road.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this was started about 2 years ago, and Shannon Lewis with Senator Tester's office was instrumental in bringing us together with BOR to actually get this off the ground. We were getting, and still are, multiple complaints from Goose Bay Road. They would get road graded, they would get treated, and within 1 weekend, with all the travel to Goose Bay, that road was just a mess. So this is the result of a collaborative effort between WWC, BOR, Bureau of Reclamation, and Broadwater County, facilitated by Shannon. And I did send this agreement to Sean and Jeremy and asked them what they thought, and did forward that email to you. Basically, they said this looks good. Broadwater County's match is in kind, it's road work. So it'll be our road crew that does the match work. And then BOR's match is the engineering for the project. And I believe WWC is on task to do that engineering. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, so I'm kind of catching up on this
Sure.
project, and so I see the proposed work is for adding an aggregate base to the road, installing new culverts and paving. That sound right?
Mhm.
Okay. And our match is just our road crew doing the work, there's really no money that we're matching this with, is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason that the FLAP, they do not like to engage any project that's under $1 million. There's so much with it because they're federal that to get bogged down in paperwork isn't cost effective. So that's why they do bigger projects like the paving of a Goose Bay Road.
Sure.
Our match overall is just 13%, so it's pretty low. Our splitting it with BOR makes it even lower. But there's a curve in the road that's pretty dangerous, there's no visibility, and that's why that's enough of a match for this, is because the project for the road crew will actually be reconstructing that portion of the road, and it's kind of right at the border of
Okay.
that road.
And that was gonna be my next question is what work is our road crew gonna do?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be straightening out that corner.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and the culvert, there's some issues with the culvert, I think it needs to be enlarged, I think they were looking at a box culvert, that's all from memory,
Okay.
so,
Right.
yeah.
All right.
And for future planning purposes, the FLAP is good for any county road that provides access to federal lands. So we have quite a few of those. and quite a few of them in
Mhm.
rough shape.
Right.
So I think there's future opportunities with this. It's a great program for counties and for county citizens.
Yeah. I know there's been several counties that have taken advantage of it, and
Yeah.
it's worked out really well for them.
So is there a motion to approve this agreement then?
So I guess, is it just to move forward with the process? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, the flap is delayed, so it was supposed to be done this spring, but at the federal level, it's been delayed by 2 years. But what we were advised to do is get this signed so that the engineering can get done. So that's basically what we're doing, is signing the agreement so that we can actually get some of the shovel-ready stuff done. When the feds say, yep, go ahead and go for it, we're ready to go ahead and start.
Okay.
So that's what it is.
All right. Good. Well, then I make a motion that we sign this agreement so that this project can move forward.
And I will second.
Motion been made and second to decide Federal Lands Access Program match agreement for the Goose Bay Road project. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Carried. Yes, Tim.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just for clarification, the project that this is agreeing to move forward on, I maybe missed it. Where is this project at again, please?
Goose Bay Road.
Goose Bay Road. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
And we move on to the Local Advisory Council for Behavioral Health, Mary Ellen Schnur update.
Oh, I forgot. Brooke needs to ask us a quick question about her grant.
Okay.
But if we could still have Mary Ellen come up and get situated, that would be fine, because I think it's fairly short. I'm sorry, Brooke.
No, you're
I almost
good.
forgot.
Good, I appreciate you taking your time. So I'm applying for a renewal of my grant. It's actually a new grant. And you guys had the letter of support that I appreciate you signing. But also, I have to have official budget representative, which is the chairman of the county commissioners. And I was going to have this available earlier, but they have, when you submit your grant, I can't even submit it until I have signatures. And I have this drop down that has the representative, and you actually weren't on there yet, so I had to request for that, you to be added. And so they just got it added, so I just got the official signature page. And basically that goes along with this, and it's the special assurances and conditions, and it's about like civil rights and the right to be audited and things like that. So I don't know if you can sign that for me, or if you'd like to review it and get it back to me too, whatever you prefer.
I think we can sign, can't
Yeah, we should have a motion, since it is, last year's was a 2-year, this is a new one, but it's the same grant, so it is ministerial. But I would move that we sign the grant for the Victim Witness Advocate grant.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll second the motion.
we? Motion been made, second to sign paperwork for the Victim Witness Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried.
And if you want, I can make a copy and get it done, or is that gonna work? Okay. And you can just keep those special assurances, and, because I have other copies of that. Okay, thank you so much, I
Thanks, Brooke.
appreciate it.
Sorry, Mary Ellen.
Mr. Chairman, how much is that grant that we're talking about?
So the one that I am applying for right now is, it will be a 2-year grant, and the federal funds will be $123,900 that I'm requesting, and the in-kind match is $26,000, and that's my health insurance.
Thank you.
It's a renewal.
It's a renewal, yes.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Brought you a little more paper to keep in your special stack here.
We started the Mental Health Local Advisory Council several years ago. And the state gave us this pamphlet to go by. The Mental Health Local Advisory Council was set up in statute in 1999, but a lot of counties didn't get on board. Some still aren't on board with a council of their own. And the idea of the whole thing is that each community's local advisory council will come up with the needs in their community to improve mental health services, mental health access, and so on. And there's a regional areas which are called Service Area Authority, which the LACs are supposed to have someone report to that. And that group includes for us Beaverhead, Gallatin, Madison, Jefferson counties. And then in turn the SAAs report to the Mental Health Advisory Oversight Committee, which is a liaison to the legislature between DPHS and the legislature. And so the idea is that eventually all this ground grassroots things is going to percolate up to the legislature and result in better community mental health services on the local level. It's not an easy thing, as you know. Mental health is one of the real easy things to cut. So anyway, our group has worked really hard at trying to create public awareness of mental health issues and also public awareness of what mental health services are available to local people. And we've thought it would be nice to have some kind of a gathering point or a center of some sort. So that's kind of a long-term goal that we've worked on over time. In the meantime, we do have a trained peer supporter. Actually, I think we have 2 in the county, but one lady kind of vanished, so I don't know if she moved or she's just lost the initiative to continue. But we do now have one certified mental health peer counselor who's able to do peer counseling for both chemical dependency and for mental illness. And starting this month, they'll be figuring out exactly what's going to happen with her and law enforcement and victims advocacy.
Is this Melinda?
This is Melinda, yes. And I'm surprised she isn't here. She intended to come, so something must have happened in her life. But anyway, we're tickled to death with that, and our group voted to pay for her license since she's unpaid. She gets no wages for this. Peer services are not compensated by Medicaid or any place like that. So she's doing this from the goodness of her heart, so we paid for her license out of our county funds. We also voted to pay the expenses of another person who might want to attend peer support training in May, and that person ideally will be a man, and hopefully we'll have one that's able to step forward at that time. So that's our big project at the time. I gave you a list at the top of the packet is the people that are currently that we currently consider to be members of our Mental Health Local Advisory Council. By law, they need to be approved by the commission, and we are supposed to be on rotating terms, which that hasn't happened since we started. We're all there for life.
Yes.
And so anyway, I gave you that list so you can see who's on right now as of January. The bottom person, Eric Kruger, represents the Ministerial Association, and that person changes from time to time. We just had, the Lutheran minister was just the person, and he's left, and now Eric is kind of sitting in for the moment, but they haven't voted to make him official yet. Of this group of people, we generally have at least 5 of us there. and sometimes 8 or 10, but most often 5, pretty much the same 5. So in view of that, over several years' experience, we did modify our bylaws, and I gave those to you in this packet also. We had a long list of membership and who should be members, and that just wasn't realistic. Like, there was supposed to be a representative of the city government and a representative of the county government. Well, nobody from city government has ever been there, and it's hard enough for the county government people to be there, so we just changed that to a representative of local government or designee. So you can designate someone to officially represent Broadwater County Commissioners and the city of Townsend if you want to. Law enforcement and justice is very important, and somebody from that department usually is at our meetings, and we just kind of figured whoever's there is it, as far as being able to vote or anything. We do have pretty close to 50% of consumers' families are advocates. That's a hard one to fill. We'd like to have more consumers, but we do have a couple, and that's great, and we have several family members. We decided to be a little bit more flexible, that we would say we'll try to meet no less than once a month. And we do meet the second Wednesday of the month, but during the summer, a lot of LACs don't meet, and we have tried to keep meeting, but man, it's hard sometimes. So last summer, we did not have 2 meetings as a result of that. So we do post our agenda ahead of time, and we do. Now, I did have a question. Who in the county is supposed to get our minutes of every meeting? We hadn't been doing that, and now I see it in the paper that we're supposed to be giving our minutes to someone. So,
The Codica Recorder's Office has a
Okay.
place for all the different county boards' minutes,
okay,
so you can just.
So we
go in
can-
there.
and I usually email those minutes
Like
out.
a 3-week reminder, so that,
Okay,
yeah.
so all the commissioners get our agendas and our minutes every month. And Daryl, I don't have your email address, so you have dodged a bullet for 1 month.
It's, I know it's on one of these, it's a normal county email, so.
County email, so-
Default for,
D without a period.
yeah, FOLKVORD
Yeah.
at CO.
CO Broadwater .mt. Okay, so I'll add you to that list. I do send our minutes and our agendas to a list of people about twice as long as this. People that we have consulted in the past, or people that are potential members, or just good advisors to us. And so this, our minutes and agendas are widely distributed. Another thing that we did early in our life was have a mental health first aid class. It was well attended. We had about 15 people there. It was a great success, and people wanted to have it again. So we've been working on that one. And we do have some mental health first aid certified instructors who have agreed to come to the county in the spring. They want 30 people to attend, and they are certified to teach mental health first aid for adults and mental health first aid for youth. So hopefully we can get 30 people. The Center for Mental Health Foundation has about $1,000 in money that they've collected over the years for Broadwater County, that they've offered to put that whole amount into our mental health first aid class. If we have 30 people, it's going to take more than that, and we'll use some of the funds that we have in our account, which we have about $3,000, I think, in the county account. And the other thing that we have to spend our own account on money is we have to pay for supervision. Someone has to pay for supervision of our peer supporter. So we have an agreement with a licensed clinical social worker, Stacy Wheeler, in Missoula, and she will provide internet supervision for our peer supporter. She charges $45 an hour? $65 an hour. And so we are going to apply for a Broadwater Community Foundation grant to help us to pay for that. And we'll have to provide a match out of our own county funds as well for that. So we aren't gonna ask the sheriff's department since it seems like they are short of money anyway, so. Anyway, is there any questions?
Yeah, when is the first aid training? First aid, do
We
you
have
a date?
a ongoing discussion with the school about that because we're trying to see if we can do a PIR day with the school in March, and if that works out, that will be the youth component on their PIR day, and then we'll do the adult component on the Saturday following that. So that date isn't cast in concrete, but we'll know shortly
Okay,
about
all
that.
right.
I received a call from Mike Stevenson. He indicated that you may be looking at some grants through the peer network out of Livingston. Is that?
Well, if we, whatever grants that they have access to, they're willing to help us try to work with that. They have been a great help. They are the ones that are running the peer training under contract for the whole state of Montana. And they're just wonderful help to us as far as getting Melinda certified and so forth. You guys cannot believe, I don't know how many of you are professionally licensed at anything, but generally you take a test and you fill in a form and you have a background check. Those people take a test, the peer supporters take a test, and they fill in a 35-page application.
Oh,
And I think that's insane. I mean, a lot of people who are good peer supporters barely have a high school education, and then they get 35 pages. And it's all for the good of trying to make sure that they're really that they really have a legitimate history in chemical dependency or mental illness, and then that they really are working a recovery program and are capable of relating peer-to-peer with people in crisis, and that's wonderful, but 35 pages. That has driven us all nuts. I mean, Sarah is an LCSW, Mike is an LCSW, I'm an RN, Larissa is an LCSW, and the four of us have just looked at this form and wanted to pull our hair out, because none of us had to go through that to get our licenses. So, anyway, it's all part of the bureaucracy. So we'll let you know when the mental health first aid class is scheduled, and if we come up a little short on money, we might ask people to pay a nominal amount and then offer what money we have as scholarships as a way to kind of make that money go further, because they're saying $100 a person, which isn't outlandish when you consider they're driving all the way from Havre down here and spending 2 days and going back. You know, and they said if we have 30 people, they would only charge us $100 a person, and that would be that. And no per diem, no meals, no nothing. So, and when you figure out what the cost of it is in more metropolitan areas, it's much more expensive than $100 a person.
sure.
So, we'll do our best to be economical about that, but it's a crying need in our community. The more people that we have that are aware and understanding of some of our neighbors that they see around town or have encounters with in the grocery store or so forth, the better off we all are, and the more likely it is that someone's going to be able to get some help for someone. So, other questions?
When you do have a date, one of the things that attracts people is food.
Yeah.
I would suggest.
We will have to do that, yes.
Yeah, and I think some of our community groups could be great resources for that.
Mhm.
Rotary, Lions, Knights of Columbus, BCDC.
Yeah, we
and
lost
beyond.
we had volunteered, the last class was Wood Family Grill donated everything, for all the meals, and we've lost their support, so, yeah, we'll sure have to provide meals and provide snacks on both days, that's one of the things that goes with the job, so,
That's a great way to be able to involve the whole
Mhm.
community.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? You're thinking hard.
No.
Okay, we'll, try to be back on a more routine basis and let you know what's going on. Since everybody volunteers for this, and also everybody volunteers for 10,000 other things, it's kind of overwhelming sometime, and our big priority is to get someone to the SAA meetings, and that's a real fight.
Is that the Center for Mental Health?
No, the SAA is the, area-wide, support agent, what did we just call this? I just told you all this when I talked to you a minute ago. SAA is the Support Advisory, Area Advisory Council.
Okay.
And then, and so we go to them, we go with them and meet quarterly, and then they report to the Mental Health Oversight Advisory Council, which reports to the legislature and DPHS. There are some bills in the legislature that are hoping to restore some of the funding that was taken away during all the budget panic, and one of the things they took away that was probably more costly to mental health than anything was case management. That is just a killer, and Center for Mental Health actually has a list of the number of people that had been in their case management services that committed suicide within the next several months. Because they didn't have that support program keeping them going. And Brooke has said, her office needs most of all is a giant case manager. And it's true, if you just have someone that helps people go where they need to go and make the right contacts, makes all the difference in the world. So hopefully that'll be restored and we can start rebuilding that program in the state.
Sure. This is kind of a question for Ann. We kind of did our research on the bylaws that we had for our different boards, and we didn't have as many as we thought we did. So would you like to get a copy of these bylaws for your records?
She has them right there.
Oh, okay, you have them there? Okay, perfect.
I give Ann everything I give you. I learned that a long time ago. And it's very quick, it's only 2 pages long, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay,
Very good.
thanks.
Thanks, Mary Ellen.
Let's see, Centennial Insurance, Julie.
Hello.
Hey, Julie.
How are you guys?
Good, and you?
Good.
Good.
I'm here to go over the renewal application and get approval to submit it from Mako.
Thank you.
Well, I have met with Mary, the Public Works Director, Sheriff Wynn, and the girls in the office to collect my information for the renewal and update everything. So I'll just go over the application with you. Mike Conkey and Mike Myers are still the risk managers.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And everything else is pretty standard on the first. The property replacement cost will be going up 3% this year on the buildings and the contents. The deductibles haven't changed. The maintenance deductible is $2,000. The auto deductible is $2,500. Number of employees is 44. No paramedics or first responders as of now, still. 2 full-time nurses, 1 part-time nurse. I have 106 volunteers. And then for the additional sponsorships is the Broadwater Rodeo and Fair, the Lions Easter Egg Hunt, and National Day of Community. And if there's any others, just let me know. They're the ones I have. The public admissions Deductible, arson emission is 5,000. And then I have to ask this, has any person, former employee, or job applicant made any claims alleging unfair or improper treatment regarding hiring, advancement of termination of employment? I have no from the office.
Mm-mm.
Okay, all right. No disputes involved in segregation, discrimination, or violations of civil rights?
No.
Okay. Do you follow a formal written grievance procedure for employees, disputes and complaints? I have yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge or information of any incidents, occurrence which might give any rise to any claim made that hasn't already been submitted?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
All right. I have the appointed board checklist. The fair, airport, mosquito, planning, health, museum, refuge, weed, and the others are the silos area, Broadwater Trust, parks and recreation, mental health, local advisor council, local emergency planning committee, and investment committee.
And we have TV.
TV, oh, there is TV, okay. All right.
And you know what, we should add library too, because it's a county school library.
Oh, okay, absolutely. Okay. Law enforcement liability, 5,000 deductible. Number of officers is 28 full-time and 2 part-time. The jail hasn't been built onto, so that hasn't changed any. We still have the zoning commission liability, ethical violation liability, and floodplains liability. That hasn't changed. So that's the application that I'm gonna be submitting. And then I've also attached the buildings that are covered. None have been sold or purchased at this time. I also have the list that we do not have covered under the county insurance.
Julie, one that I don't see on here is the triple wide right next door.
We've never had that covered.
No, we acquired it 2 years ago, and I think in looking at the list, we just missed it.
Okay.
So yeah, that should probably be added
Okay.
this year.
Who can I contact to get the information on the building?
How
Like
about Mike
the-
Myers?
Okay.
You guys have any?
And
other
that's
thoughts?
Dr. Campbell's building?
It's actually a county building.
Yeah, okay, but
Yeah,
that's
but he
where,
uses
okay,
it.
all right, just so
Yeah.
I'm on the right page there. Okay. Perfect. Okay, then I included, the equipment schedule of the larger equipment, like the tools and office stuff is all insured under content coverage, but this is, you know, if it's over and above that. And then, all the county vehicles that we have covered under the county policy.
So if any of these were to change,
Um,
do we have a deadline or a opportunity date?
They should be added right away. Deleted, I mean, for the cost effective, it doesn't matter, but if they're not on the policy, they're not covered. So
Sure.
we need to get them listed if anything's purchased. The only time they change the premium is at the beginning of the renewal period,
Okay,
so, very important.
thank you.
Because anything anymore, if it's not on there, they won't cover it,
Sure. And that makes sense.
yeah.
Hey Julie,
Yes.
we have a Ford Fusion that's part of our fleet, and I don't see it on here, so we should
Is
double
it
check
under the
that.
commission, is it the commissioner vehicle?
Yeah, but it looks like that says Ford Explorer.
Okay, there, that should, that, I believe, the sheriff's office, that Ford Explorer, should be under the extension office. Let me double check here.
I
think
that's
that's-
Dodge Durango.
Yeah,
When, is
Oh.
that correct, Brandon?
the Dodge Durango
The
went
Do-
to the extension office.
Okay,
And then the Explorer is the commissioners, and also we have a Fusion as well.
And I see that one
Okay.
here under the sheriff,
okay,
and I think maybe that's how it got missed. But it concerns me because that Fusion is used a lot and we should make sure it's on here.
okay, let me.
But I think that's how we missed it, Julie, so I'm sorry.
Okay, nope, that's okay, we can get that.
Oh, hey.
I
it's
thought it was
page
on
2.
there for some reason, but.
It
I'm-
is, it's on the back, I missed it. It's-
Okay, I was like,
Commission is just-
I knew we had a Ford Fusion, but I couldn't tell you. Okay, yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And the Dodge Durango, I did put on the extension office.
So is this something you guys, that we have our departments review, to make sure that we haven't missed a piece of equipment or a vehicle that may have been added recently that, we didn't look this over?
I don't know. They've gotten a copy of it,
Mhm.
but we seldom get any response, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a bad idea to
It's
send it out
something.
again and double check. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
Julie, can I offer just one small edit to the front page?
Absolutely.
Under designated risk manager, Mike Myers, it's Myers.
All right. Definitely.
So when is the premium set?
We have the deadline, so they normally get it in around the 1st of February, mid-February, to the company. So it's probably not gonna be set until about May.
So if we had something we were selling, say we're gonna sell that Fusion,
Yes,
if we were planning on selling it in the next, say, 2 months, would we be able to let you know that this is pending and so to take it off?
absolutely. Well, pending, I wouldn't wanna take it off until it's actually taken off.
Okay,
But the rates, when I submit all this and all the counties submit all the renewal stuff, that's how they gather their numbers. So if we take it off, probably before, July 1st, actually, because the rates will be in before July 1st. So probably around maybe when they set the renewal.
okay, all right,
And then it's just one time, so if you don't sell it until after, the rates are out, then it doesn't come off till next year.
okay, all right. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm looking for our hospital, where's that covered?
That's under the hospital, we don't cover it under Mako.
Isn't that a county building?
It is, but that would go back to the charter that started THS and the Hospital District Board.
Okay.
What those, maybe Mike, you know the
So
details,
they
I
maintain their
don't.
own insurance?
They do.
On building, I get that's my only concern,
Yeah.
as long as it's insured. I don't care what you pay.
Right,
Good question.
Yeah.
and that'll be something we need to double check with the building next door, because I'd be surprised if anybody's paying insurance on it since the switch, which could be really bad.
Well, we'll just get it added.
All right, thanks.
ASAP, yeah.
And we'll get back to you with details if they change.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect.
Do you want a motion for us to approve this, Julie?
Yeah, I do need the signatures to submit it to Mako. I have the approval to submit the numbers and then I have the agency agreement between Mako, Centennial Insurance, and Broward County that I do need signed.
Okay.
So we can still sign it as long as you know the changes that.
Oh, absolutely, I can
made.
make changes at any time,
Okay.
yep, not a problem.
I will move that we sign the insurance submission for Mako and sign on with Centennial Insurance as our insurance agent.
Well, second the motion.
Motion been made, second to sign insurance for Mako. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Do we have any discussion, or,
Yeah,
I think Tim has something
Oh.
on idea as well.
Just a quick question, maybe I'm premature on asking a question, because the policy really doesn't get submitted and in effect until May, so there may be some changes. But do we have a cost
No,
at this point, or when would that be on the table?
probably towards the middle, end of May.
Okay,
Yeah, there is not a cost until all the counties get all the information in, so they can submit all the values for all the counties as a
Okay.
pool.
coming from Nicole, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
what's that?
Brandon has something.
I had one question
Oh.
maybe for you, Julie. We participated in the Mobileye with Mako. Do you know if that was any benefit to us? for,
I have
in that
not heard
pool?
on that yet.
Okay, I didn't know when that,
You're still involved in that right now.
we're
aren't
still
you?
involved in
Yeah.
it in 3 of our vehicles, but I didn't know, my understanding was there was possibly some benefits for
There
us.
should be
going
some
to-
credits coming in, probably, I haven't heard of any, but they probably won't be coming again until like renewal, when
Okay.
they issue the new one.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
So, if we're gonna purchase a new patrol car, do we need to put that on here
Soon as it's purchased, absolutely.
as soon as it's purchased? Okay.
Yeah. And normally Brandon gives me everything I need on it, when they purchase a vehicle, so I have it all, I'll just add it to the list.
Okay. So this motion has been made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried.
Julie, would you slide that this way? Does it require me to?
No, just
No,
one.
all right, then
A
never
print and
mind.
a sign. And
I
me.
saw 2 signatures and
Yeah.
thought, oh,
Thank you.
thanks. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too,
Thank
Julie.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, next is the begin process to sell a county building.
we've never had an agreement, and that's where my worry comes through.
What was the one we were given that the November 20th date?
I have a copy of that one.
Well, I tell you, don't give me anything else from that.
His job is meetings and paperwork. Do you want a copy, Daryl?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is discussing the clinic next door. So as we haven't had an agreement, when was this transferred, 17?
January of 17, yeah, 2 years ago.
We have no agreement on it. Have you heard anything from Campbell on this thing at all, or?
Yeah, I've been talking to him, and there's, I guess, what are you guys contemplating? I'm not aware of what you're talking about right
Well, I think we're just looking at selling it and getting it out of there.
now. Okay, so the last time I talked to you and I talked to them, the deal that was contemplated was a lease, then at the end of that, they would pay for removing it. And we were working out the terms of the lease payment in the interim, and the term of years. So that's the last conversations I've had with them and with you. So are you thinking of something different now?
Well, I guess my question is what's the legality of us giving it to him? I mean, it's a public building, it's a county building.
Well, so the deal as I understood from you isn't giving it to him. It's a lease agreement where he pays to have it removed, which we're looking at trying to get appraisals on what that cost is. But the cost to have it removed is most likely gonna be probably more than it's worth, it's my guess. Here's what's going on with this. So this building as it stands right now is, you know, it's an old building, it's got a lot of maintenance issues. So, but I'm just going off of what I understood you guys expressed to me last year. You don't wanna pay to fix it up, and you wanna get it removed at some point whenever he's done with his practice, which I don't know when that is. But what his interest was is to continue to lease it to operate his practice, and then he would take on the financial obligation of removing it and transfer of ownership at that point. So if you do that over the course of however many years, at the time we were initially talking 3 years, then you basically have a 3-year lease where he has to pay the cost of removing it, which is probably in the, depending on which house mover you get, and then the cost of disposal of it is gonna be probably a lot more than the market rate of leasing it for 3 years or for purchasing it. So that's what we're trying to work out, is number one, how long, and number two, what does it actually cost to have this thing removed and disposed of? Well, last time we talked, the things that had been gone back and forth was that number one, that was your guys' number one goal that you told me. His goal was to continue to operate until he retires, and he had offered to serve as a county health officer without compensation as a substitute for a lease payment, and then basically the cost of removing it and disposal would be like a balloon payment at the end of the equivalent to a balloon payment at the end of a term, because then the county doesn't have to pay that cost. That's our last discussion where it was. Since then, he has not been receiving compensation. He's been serving as a county health officer without compensation since then, which was last, I want to say, September, October.
So is that, for, according to code, if it's valued at over $2,500, you have to sell, you have to have a public auction for that? Does that still bind on this case or not?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because what you've got here is you've got if you look at the different statutes in Title 7, Chapter 8, you've got lease provisions, and then you've got sale provisions, and then you've got sell and exchange or almost barter provisions. And what you I'm looking at, I'm not sure how to do this, because if you do a sale or a lease, okay, then you've got, I'm guessing the building's over $2,500 in value. We have to assume we're gonna be triggering that, okay? But you also have the problem in a case like this, you have what's called equity, okay? So Doc Campbell had this lease agreement with the hospital that was not written down apparently for decades. At some point, the hospital transferred it to the county without notice to them, without notice to Doc Campbell. And that puts us into a category of dealing with this in court called equity. And in how to handle that as a court in terms of his rights, there's basically fairness that the court's gonna probably give him some rights because of it. This is the problem you have when you have what appears to be 15 years of operation without a written agreement, and then transfer to the county without him knowing about it or being in on the transfer. So that's given us basically a building that's more of a pain in the butt than it's worth, but because of the way it was done, he as a tenant has equitable rights that we have to respect. So I'm trying to figure out how to structure this thing as a lease or a sale. The thing that would be the cleanest to do, honestly, is if we did not proceed with the structured agreement where he leases it for 3 years and then pays for its disposal. So the cleanest thing would be is that he leases it and at the end we auction it or some other means of disposing of that building without giving him the preference. Basically
So to remain the county's building.
Right.
Okay.
That's where we would, the cleanest thing to say, we can do public auction, we can do whatever it might be. But by coupling the lease with the transfer and disposal, which has been suggested, which totally makes sense because that gives us, we're out of the burden of having to deal with that building. It does put us on the lease statutes combined with the sale statutes, and it's messy. I don't know how to do a public auction agreement where he basically carries, incurs this obligation and benefit of his lease, but then someone else might, he can basically get out of it by not bidding at the auction. Does that make sense? And then someone else has to pay for the acquisition and the transfer. It's messy.
Can we continue to do the, lease him the building